Hey everyone, welcome back. And this is Connie Phieff, and you're listening to an episode of Don't Blame Me with Connie Phieff, and I'm Connie Phieff. I'm so glad that you are here, and I'm so glad that you are here because when we are all together, we also learn together. So we have an incredible guest that I'm going to be bringing up for you today in just a few minutes. But, just want to, talk a little bit more about where we're at in the industry, in the entertainment industry, in the meetings industry, and what people are looking for. What actually do you need to do as a talent to get noticed, to be seen, to be recognized, so you can't step on those middle stages. So that's what today's show is about. But also, you know what? Whatever comes up is what we're going to be talking about today. And we'll throw in some learnings for you. And so by the end of the show, I want you to let me know what you've learned today. What exactly is it that we deliver to help you take your business, scale your business to that next level? So let me quickly introduce our guest. So but I asked her for the show title, which is kind of funny. She said, it's hula hooping while your hair is on fire. And I really had to chuckle and laugh about that because sometimes, as an entrepreneur, as a founder, we kind of feel like our hair is always on fire. And where are we going next? And we're jumping through those hoops. So we're going to be hula hooping today. So she is and was a corporate planner for 15 years before becoming a full-time speaker herself. And you might know her as the founder of SPIN, which is the Senior Planners Industry Network. And today she speaks to audiences worldwide on consumer behavior, sales, and marketing. And her mission is to help you stand out, build trust, and be unforgettable. And welcome to our platform today, Shawna Suckow. So, hey, Shawna, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Connie?
I am doing well. So I was thinking about when you and I first met, and we actually ended up sharing a room together.
We did.
At an NSA conference, National Speakers Association conference. So we got to know each other a little bit more intimately.
Right?
Then you normal networking, then you would see out there.
Yeah.
So
I love that. It's like roommate roulette.
Yeah, roommate roulette. Exactly. So I want to share your background with our listeners because a lot of our listeners, again, whether they're an athlete or an entertainer, an influencer, a lot of them were in corporate like you and myself, and then they moved out and they moved into a different industry. And that's part of your journey. If you could just share a little bit more about that and share more about that journey and how you did that move from one to the other.
Sure. So as you mentioned, I was a corporate planner for a little over 15 years. And I was always interested in how everybody was marketing and selling at me because I had millions of dollars of other people's money that I controlled and spent. And I wish I had that today. Anyway, but I was always interested in how I was being sold and marketed to. And so I ended up writing kind of a tell-all, pull back the curtain. And this is how your buyer thinks. And if you just do this instead of that, you'll be more successful. And the phone started ringing and people were like, do you want to come and speak to our group? And I was like, heck no. I'd rather jump out of an airplane, while hula hooping with my hair on fire. No. And eventually I said yes to a couple friends. And along the way, I just started to realize it's not about me. It's about them. And once I got out of my own head and out of my own way, I realized how much I loved it and that what I had to say was valuable. And I have never looked back. I've been doing it now for almost 12 years. So.
Wow. Oh, wow. Yeah, my journey started 16 years ago, and mine was the organization I was working with at a big realignment. I was the CEO, and they were like, "You're out," and then it was, "What do I do now?" And same thing. I started getting phone calls it was a nonprofit, from other nonprofit organizations, and saying, "How did you shift? How did you move? From this space to this space?" And originally, I was like, "Oh, it wasn't that easy." Yeah, because you lose your identity. That was the biggest thing for me. And that's what I find out for a lot of people did that identity change? So that was really interesting. And I've seen you speak, and you speak fabulous. I love how you deliver. What, if you can, from that book that you wrote, from what you said, do this and not that, what's one secret sauce you can give our audience of what they can do when they're pitching to a buyer in corporate?
Oh, that's a loaded question. We could speak for hours on that because it is changing so rapidly. It has been changing dramatically as long as I've been really paying attention to those trends more intentionally. But it has never changed so much. What we need to do to stand out and get noticed, it's never changed so much as it has in just the past 3 years. In fact, I wrote a book at the beginning of the 2020s called The Roaring Twenties, and it is already irrelevant, which is sad. I'm working on my next iteration of it because, I want to help people keep up. It's crazy, but I would say the one thing that I am most focused on right now is storytelling. To get noticed, better storytelling from the stage. It is the number one way to stand out on social media right now, is telling your story, not pitching, not saying how great you are, and not just your story, but 1,000 different stories about, like you said, you were scared and it was crazy. That immediately intrigued me. That is so much more interesting to me than all the success that you had when you were there. It's like, okay, what happened when you were challenged and how did you resolve that and how were you resilient and what was the outcome? So it's those stories that make us human, and it also makes you stand out, makes you more memorable because everybody else is busy saying how great they are.
Yes. So I was going to ask if you could clarify. I'm not going to sit there, and a lot of people don't do that. They don't want to talk about themselves. I'm going to say, oh, I got all these trophies and awards and one thing, show them to you. It's about that real life. Like you said, there was a challenge. How did you overcome that?
Yes.
Yeah. And being real, being authentic. And that's the one thing that I've seen is they want to know who you are. They want to get to know you.
Especially, you work with a lot of celebrities and athletes, and there's so much behind the scenes that the regular person would love to hear. So just telling those little stories, not always about you, but drop in stories about a teammate or a coworker or an audience member or an experience that you had on the road one time. And just constantly telling those stories gets people to stop scrolling and go, okay. And then they start to see you as human, and they start to develop this bond of trust with you before ever meeting you. And that is the moment when you become unforgettable. So when you do go to reach out, or when they have a need, they're going to think of you. They're already trusting you. So when you do go to reach out, if you are the one reaching out, they already know you and like you. Half of the work is done.
Right. And even a celebrity, and for us, our business increased in that space because they were showing up because they had a name, or they were a quarterback, or they did something such as that. But then they would show up and bomb because there was no storytelling there. There was no sharing who they were. So a lot of it is going back to, and I love that you said that, because that is the one thing that I always talk about is you need to let them know who you are. And those big fancy sizzle reels today, I don't know about you, are they really looking at them?
Well, yes, but. So the yes part is yes, I absolutely would never hire a speaker without seeing how they present first. So the sizzle reel is absolutely still critical. But we have to change that up as well, because if you think about standing out, all of your competitors, not all, most of your competitors are still doing sizzle reels that are all about the flash and the sizzle and how great they are. But there is no bit of a story. There's no thread throughout the sizzle reel that keeps people engaged and watching to the end. Like mine, seriously, the best thing I ever did with my own sizzle reel was include wacky outtakes at the end, because nobody does that. Nobody shows themselves like messing up or just talking to somebody or what it's like off stage or,
Like, gotta be perfect.
yes, they show only the perfection, but the human element is in the off the stage and the just sitting and talking and the, being goofy and flubbing your words and stuff. That's the part that humanizes me. And more planners mention that than they mention, oh, you're so great at 33 seconds in when you said that thing. They need to see that too. But then how can you incorporate that human part?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went because I like to go when they're telling or speaking or, whatever they're doing or book deals, whatever. And I like to show up sometimes. So I did go to one recently. And I mean, she's a fabulous speaker and she shared a personal story. And then it was more of a workshop at the end. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh. And then she went on to show a PowerPoint. So I was just like, okay, we need to do a little coaching here. And so what I did, I went to the audience and I said, okay, tell me what was memorable in this program. Mm-hmm. And they said, oh, the story at the beginning, I love when she shared this. And then I said, okay, anything else? No. So I had that feedback to go back to her and say, okay, this is the feedback that we got from the audience, because I'm always saying, we don't want that dreaded PowerPoint. Yeah, you use it for photos or, some kind of imagery, something like that. And, NSA, we just seen a fabulous one from Sylvia DeGusto. All right. I talk about raising the bar.
That was
right. So what did the audience remember? Right. I remember the elephant. I remember the giraffe. I remember the brain. Like you keep going through it. So I actually used that as an exercise. And then so I had asked our talent after showing it, okay, what did you remember? So, so I always say that and look at it that way. What is memorable for your audience? And that does come back to the storytelling.
That's such a great question to ask, as their representative to the, at the end to ask the audience. I love that question. One of the other things that I do that I believe sets me apart is my introduction is unexpected. Like most introductions of speakers are blah, blah, blah. They got this award. They've spoken in this many countries. It's all the stuff we're proud of. They don't care about any of that until they care about us. And so I actually use it as an example in my talk. But what I do is I do the accolades that are expected. And then I say 3 memorable things about Shawna. And I talk about, or I have whoever's introducing me, read about how I once ran face first into a plate glass window in front of a bus load of tourists, and they all clapped for me. My first car was an orange Volkswagen Beetle that caught on fire on my way to school. And the third thing is I hate bacon, and so those 3 things.
Who hates bacon?
Exactly. I usually get a huge groan from the audience, and so I go up and they're already laughing and they already know some random things about me. But about halfway through my talk, I say, let's circle back to that introduction. How many books have I written? How many countries have I spoken in? What color was my car? And they all go, orange. And they can't answer the first 2 questions. And that's my point. They don't care about what we're proud of.
We don't.
Until we have humanized ourselves.
Right.
And so what they remember is those little nuggets of humanity, of authenticity, of when I totally was a dork, of when something weird happened to me, and I come on stage and they've already given me a break before I say anything, because they like and trust me a little bit more than had I just had somebody read out all my blah, blah, blah.
Right. So, I started writing introductions for a talent because that's what they were doing, 4 or 5 pages. And I'm like, no.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Keep it short. And what is totally memorable about you?
Right.
It's just, it puts the audience at ease before you even open your mouth. And they're already smiling when I go up there. And, I can talk then about bacon or I can talk whatever. But it's it puts them into the mode where they're like, oh, okay, this is going to be different. And that's what I want. And then I have to follow through on that, of course. But
Absolutely, absolutely. Practice, practice, practice. So what's so I mean, you went from corporate, you're a founder, you have your own company, your own business now. What is that drive? What's that motivator that keeps you going?
oh, that's a great question too. So my dad was a college professor and he taught entrepreneurship. And so from a very early age, he instilled in me that drive, that never give up, that always looking for what's next, always mix it up. That mixed with a very healthy dose of ADHD, woohoo! I'm always looking for, what's next? How do I mix it up? And that really helps me with studying consumer behavior, especially right now, because it's like, okay, what's now? What's happening now? What crazy thing is gonna change everything, tomorrow? And so I definitely have found myself in the right place.
Okay. Well, what's something people get wrong about you?
They think that, I get discounted a lot because I am goofy and I wear pink glasses and I look kind of girly and, but I know my stuff and I stay on top of trends and I always want to stay relevant myself. And I'm always sharing that same information that's going to help everybody else stay relevant. So I think it's a combination of all that. Is don't discount me, before you have heard me speak. This is all carefully curated. Everything in my background is carefully curated to tell a story before I even open my mouth, so that you remember me and you find things that you can connect with on a human level and ask me about, like my dog or that fan or whatever before we even start talking. So it's all carefully curated, and I hope they do the same.
I love that. Well, I have one more final question for you. What is real for you right now?
Ooh, what is real for me right now is I am dying to travel internationally more. That's so on my radar right now. I want to go on more adventures. Ever since, BC, before COVID, I traveled internationally a couple times a year, either to speak or for fun. And I just kind of lost track of that. And so now AD, after the COVID, I want to get back to doing more of that. And so that's what's real for me. That's a great. You're such a great question asker.
Oh, wait, thank you. Well, I think a couple of things. We could write a book together.
Yeah, we could.
We could definitely travel together.
Yeah, we could. We definitely can room together. We know how to survive without it. Yep,
Yeah.
sorry.
So a lot of things happening there. Well, Shawna, that is all I have. Do you have any final comments or I'm going to say feedback, but offers or challenges that you have for our listeners on how they can be seen, how they can really stay ahead of the curve? I know one thing that we're doing as an agency, we've implemented all AI through all of our systems. We have an app coming out soon, and the app is built, in addition to our website, it's all built intentionally for the buyer, for corporations. We refer to them as the buyers. It's all built intentionally for them. Our newsletters, everything is for the buyers. But we don't want to forget our talent to help them, just with some of those pointers so they can stand out and get noticed by those buyers, because we're doing everything through AI and technology now going forward.
Oh, that's so smart. AI is such a game changer. So I would say they too should do whatever they can to stay on top of that, because it is such a time saver, a productivity enhancer, but also they need to know about it because their audiences are interested in it. So I would say that if they want to, keep on top of what I'm learning and studying every day, just go to my website, shawnasuckow.com. You can sign up. I send out tips via text, no sales pitches, or I have what I call my non-annoying newsletter, and they can sign up for that. And I'm just sharing everything that I'm learning, real time, because it is changing so quickly, and I'm trying to stay just a little bit ahead of my buyers at any given time, which is not easy. So,
Right.
kudos to you for doing the same.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. And for everyone listening, I am Connie Phieff, and don't blame me with Connie Phieff, but we are here to give you all those tips and tools that you need so you can step center stage, whether it be as a speaker for a public appearance, for a book signing, or for an endorsement. That's what we're here to help you with and help you do. So if you learned anything from today's program, be sure to let us know in the chat over in our show Facebook group and also over on Instagram. So thanks for being here. And until next time, we want you all to be unstoppable and unforgettable. Take care. Bye-bye.